Just around the corner of the anniversary event, we've got two new licensed survivors to grace the trial with their presence. This time from AMC's The Walking Dead. I know literally nothing about the IP except Negan and Tekken 7, but sadly we're not pulling crazy combos with Negan as killer, so I'm going in this completely blind. But we'll follow the previous video's formats, so we'll talk about the survivors and the new item, the new map and the balance changes, so let's get started.
I hope you got your shitting pants on.
As said previously, my knowledge of the franchise is I know it exists, so I apologize if I get anything wrong, but that being said, the survivors are Rick Grimes and Michonne Grimes. Comparing them to their real-life counterparts, they've been adapted very well, just like with Nicolas Cage and Rick's legendary skin. It feels somewhat eerie, like they've been dragged off set. Of course, they're voiced by the respective actors as well to give them more life, something that you love to see, especially when they actually interact with one another when doing tasks, something I want more from, like Renato and Felita come to mind.
Don't move. Kinda hard not to.
Now, I may not know much about the show, but I do know perks, so let's talk about them and how their synergies with other perks, starting with Rick Grimes. Apocalypse Ingenuity introduces party pallets to the official game mode, and a way to rebuild pallets by rummaging two chests you gain the ability to create a fragile pallet, which breaks when it's dropped. This is a neat perk all around, letting you rebuild a temp pallet for dead zones, as even a little breathing room can go a long way. And I also think that more perks that incentivize being a chest gremlin, the better. So running Plunderers, the offering for more chests, and Appraisal is your best bet to get max value, especially with Appraisal being buffed. This perk will come in clutch every now and again, but it's definitely going to be niche thanks to the chest requirement. Come and Get Me is a neat perk, basically being the ability to get the killer's attention. After unhooking a survivor, you gain the ability at any time after crouching and stopping to have the survivors around you in a 24-meter radius lose their blood and scratch marks for 15 seconds at the cost of you screaming and revealing your aura. Now, if a killer's gonna hard tunnel, you're kinda out of luck, but I do think this perk is going to be really nice in general, using perks like Harden bypasses the scream, and Distortion removes the aura reading, but realistically you wouldn't actually do this as you're losing free perk slots doing that. I also think we'll make it to heal survivors off hook, and any form of chase perk like Finesse would actually be pretty helpful, as if you're gonna scream and get the killer's attention, you might as well be ready for a chase. And finally, Toughen Up, which simply gives you the ability when a teammate blinds or stuns the killer while you're 24 meters and you're injured to remove your scratch marks and blood for 30 seconds. There's not really any synergy to be had, as it completely dependent on your teammates, so it's just run it if you believe in your solo queue teammates. But personally, I'd rather have a rock to bludgeon myself with, but each their own. While Rick's perks are more on the niche side, Michonne comes with some absolute earth-shattering stuff. And that's only half joking. Conviction is the perk I saw first and fell in love with. Simply after one heal, you gain the ability when downed, gain up to 25% recovery, and then get yourself up broken, and after 30 seconds, you go down straight away. I am already imagining pulling off some generational wins after being slugged by willing myself up in those last 2 seconds, passing through those glorious exit gates, but it is a little problematic. You can use multiple perks with it to make it quite obnoxious. Perks like Soul Guard to have free endurance on pickup, Unbreakable to get up way faster. You can add Boon Exponential too, but that is too obvious. So some people are using Plot Twist to intentionally down themselves in a better spot and get themselves up fully healed. But we'll just have to wait and see how it shakes the meta, just like Last Stand, which after the simple ability of hiding in the killer's terror radius for 90 seconds, you gain the ability to, after fast vaulting, to stun the killer in a 2.5 meter radius, but then it immediately turns off for the rest of the trial. That ability can get saves on shoulders, but the thing that makes me worried is that simply the vault speed is a fraction faster, even while injured, so potentially not only can you be stunned, but they're freely vaulting faster for hiding in your terror radius. I think that's a little silly personally. Most people will probably use it for the free finesse, while also not caring if they get the stun effect. Of course, this perk is countered by no terror radius, so truly a perk that helps the Stealth Nation be more viable. Finally, Throwdown is like Toughen Up, but when you stun a killer, survivors in a 24 meter radius gain endurance and see the killer's aura for 8 seconds. the worst of her perks by far, but still probably more viable than all of Rick's perks. I can see it being a nice perk to help your teammates, but the situation where you stun for it to be helpful for your team is pretty niche, but hey, it's at least a unique effect. Overall, although I don't personally have a connection to The Walking Dead, I do like their perks and what they add to Dead by Daylight. They may go to the wayside after the initial hype dies down, for me at least, but I know that there will be thousands of fans wanting to play the Grimes, and more power to them. It's always nice to know, even if you don't personally care for the IP, someone else is having the time of their life. Now, before the balance changes, we've got a map to talk about, so let's get into that. Alright, no offense to the devs, but this is by far the laziest map I've seen. Firstly, they didn't even bother to have a separate event exclusively for the map like they did with Five Nights at Freddy's, which is kinda lame. But here is the unique map location. This is it, just don't dead open inside door, pallet and a window. Truly one of the main buildings of all time. There's also this unique skybox and the map is quite foggy. But it's just yet another map expansion for Greenville, which FNAF was previously. It makes you question if this is the direction the entity is going for popular franchises. Fuck it, remove the theater. Frank Stone sold 0 copies, he's gotta pay it back somehow. Other than that, it's just got generic loops, which you expect, and it's honestly just a small nothing burger of a map. We should have just gotten a map from Tekken 7 and called it a day, honestly. Before the match began, there was the scaffold. We don't know where it comes from, only that it holds the power to create realms and fill them with pallets. We've got a good amount of changes, things like the mysterious metal pipe in the offering page, that's there for some reason, but there's some big changes related to survivor items, so I'm going to talk about them, but not before the general changes, which are pretty simple. You can now kill yourself on hook when you want to give your teammate hatch, which is nice to see again. When all the survivors are hooked, it speeds up the hook stages so they will die, so no more waiting for that one stubborn survivor to hold out. Loadout presets have been increased to 7 and can be nicknamed, and finally, a new player quest system to somewhat give them directions. It's not really a tutorial, just things to do to get a grip of the game at least. That's how I see it. And things that help the new player experience, I welcome wholeheartedly. Just like the new survivor items, which is the Fog Vial. It works kinda like crystals in 2v8 in the Halloween event last year, but it can be activated multiple times and it obscures to 40% visibility, has a 1-minute cooldown on the rare version and lasts 12 seconds on the rare version. There's 3 rarities and some interesting add-ons. I'll be honest, a part of me wants to say this is going to be super annoying and I hate it, but it hasn't been enough time, so we'll just have to wait and see, as most people using it are getting as lost as you are, to be honest. I just hope the bug with Chase gets fixed soon, as I like using it, but I don't want to cause Shack Infinites. But now for the other item reworks. Both keys and maps got their rarities changed, now being common to rare rather than rare to iridescent. The key now uses charges rather than holding it down. This means it no longer works with streetwires, which also got reworked. But it also means they're more viable, honestly. It now has the ability to, on top of unlocking hatch, to show the aura of teammates and instantly unlock chests and letting a survivor freely rummage for an additional item. So finally, a reason to open chests. Maps are looking pretty crazy, having the ability to basically ping teammates to gens and other things. I'm not sure how long, but this will be a massive boon for solo queue. There's finally a way to get a solo player to do gens, but then again, like Zoro, they'll probably get lost somehow. These changes are looking quite interesting. Changing them to charges is something I never really thought about, but we'll just have to see more of, and I hope we do, as I think I might finally stop running medkits now. With that being said, let's get into the good old killer changes. We're starting off with a good one. The Executioner got buffed, getting almost an omni buff in almost every aspect, with the appropriate changes to add-ons while nerfing somewhat. The 2 worst aspects of them, the ability to insta-down freed survivors from cages and Pyramid Head just holding M2 behind you for free hits, although a 0.2 meter a second decrease is basically nothing, it's just kinda nice I guess. Another thing I note is he got a massive rework to basically all of his add-ons, and they're quite crazy. I like almost all of them, as they work as an extension of his power, and are quite unique. The Seal of Metatron is just a really goofy perk. I can't wait to try it out even more in real matches. Sniping Pyramid Head is now real. The only add-on that I personally dislike is the Obsidian Goblet. I really don't think the Pyramid Head needed the ability to freely break pallets for the small price of eerie rarity. It just feels counterintuitive. Of course, it could be compared to the Legion button, but at least in that case, they have to run out of Frenzy before getting a hit for Pyramid Head. It's a different story. Though, it's not really all that problematic, and Eerie should be strong, but I don't know. I don't like the clown changes though. They seem alright on paper, but in practice the clown is just quite mind-numbing. The nerf to Hindrance and the buff to his haste is led to being more viable just to use the yellow bottles, or purple on a rare occasion instead of vice versa. The only two things out of all of his changes that I approve of is the faster reload and cigar box being nerfed. A 16 meter radius on Aura while in the yellow bottle is cartoonishly good, and now you're just throwing yellow bottles every 2 seconds. You just have perma wall hacks, but I guess in a way you kind of still do. 8 meters is still pretty big. The Knight got some quality of life changes, buffing him and adjusting what was needed, but thankfully on top of the buff, you have way more movement expression when placing your guards. With this cool buff, I will forgive them for the killer ankle breaking that they were planning. The pig got a buff, and hell's yet to freeze over, so let's continue. Everything from her crouch speed, going in and out, ambush speed, and survivors now get objective points for getting the bear trap off. So yeah, I love when Dead by Daylight does this kind of stuff, that buffing killers while streamlining their add-ons. However, the Oni has gotten changed again. For people who don't know, Oni is my second favorite killer in Dead by Daylight, so all the adjusting they've been doing has been kind of pissing me off. In the first version, the turn rate was hard-locked, and people really didn't like it. I hated it personally. So they removed the cap, and a gentle breeze made him spin around. It went from a change for console players to a change for no one. But finally, it seems behavior has hit good enough in between. Some of the skill expression he had is pretty much gone, but I think if console players can now enjoy him at his full glory, it's not really the end of the world. I still can't get used to the controls on controller though, honestly. But who cares about all that when Insidious activates in 1 second now. Meta perk now. Unlike Hubris, which is now 30 rather than 20. Dragon's Grip's cooldown has been reduced to 30 seconds. Hangman Trick buff to 16 meters. This I like because I unironically fuck with that perk. And Franklin's has been given a radius increase of 64 meters, but now items don't lose their charges, which I personally don't think is the end of the world, but it makes it lose a lot of its identity. I remember at 0 it would just straight up disappear. It does have a problem of no real way to nerf busted medkits, toolboxes, and whatnot, but that's more of an issue with item balance that should be addressed rather than Franklin's. And finally, Overwhelming got reworked. Now survivors using an item within 32 meters of you will get exhausted, and additionally an exhausted survivor gets their aura shown. It's a unique concept, but at the same time we lose the only item that actually caused survivors' charges to deplete. Of course this perk was never useful, but it's still a shame, really, especially when I still don't see anyone running it. There are definitely better perks that cause exhaustion, like Mindbreaker, but it's better than nothing, I guess. On the survivor side, potential energy can be activated instantly, but was nerfed to make up for that. But we all know that it will be knocked out of them after getting max stacks. I know I've dealt with that at least the 3 times I've used it. Any means necessary, built to last, and Still Sight got their time to wait all decreased, which is fair enough. Better Together is a perk I pretty much didn't know existed, and it got a hyper buff, being a perfect perk for solo queue honestly. I might need to run it now, but a perk I do run, Appraisal, not only lets you rummage chests 2 times now, but the tokens are now 4. I love to see this free moment of glory, which will likely not activate. Let's fucking go. Deja Vu and Detective's Hunch both got their respective aura rating removed from appearing on maps, but to compensate, at least for Detective's Hunch, is the length of the aura rating is doubled, which is really nice as it gives the niche perk more value, especially when trying to find a sneaky hex totem. And finally, Streetwise was reworked. Now when you deplete your first item of its charges, you see the killer for 8 seconds, and on top of that, any item you get in chest will have 80% more charges. I've said it once and I'll say it again, I love chest gremlin perks. Quick editing note, I just wanted to give a simple heads up that Streetwise is broken just like most things in this update. If you swap the item that you got from the chest 100 times, you'll have 17 like quadrillion charges. So yeah, heads up, do not do that as you might get banned. Overall, the changes are quite a mixed bag. The perks are what you would expect, the quality of life changes for Pig and Knight are lovely to see, and Pyramid Head having actually good add-ons is crazy and fun. It doesn't excuse the fact that the new Survivor item is breaking chases, and Clown is just the piss master now. I just hope they don't nerf him to the ground when they come back to look at him. But let's wrap this video up. The Walking Dead shambled into the realm, and its initial release will unfortunately have the legacy of being very buggy, and obviously not QA tested. I mean, how does a metal pole find its way in the offering page? But then again, this is the same developer that had the source code of Calm Spirit pop up when he crouches the pig on the PlayStation. By the mid-chapter, or perhaps when the August 2v8 happens, we will hopefully see almost all the bugs and problems in this chapter be addressed, and what we'll be left with is two really nice looking survivors from a popular franchise with two somewhat meta perks, a super lackluster map, and a very questionable clown change. I personally don't know what to think about this update, so I really want to hear what you think about this chapter. Leave it in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more Dead by Daylight or even JRPG content, please like and subscribe, and if you'll excuse me, I have a skeleton to run over.